There is so much talk lately about AI stealing jobs, right? AI is capable of a lot of things. And so it maybe is a little bit justified that some people are concerned about it, that some people are thinking that is going to come for their job. And add on to that the actual evidence that some businesses have actually laid off employees and called right out that it is because of AI, that they can be more profitable with AI, that they can be more efficient, that they can run leaner, that they can go faster when they are using AI. But I would challenge you to think of it this way: AI can never replace a leader. It can never replace someone who is leading in their role. And why do I phrase it exactly like that? Because it's not about the title. It's not about whether or not you have direct reports. It's not about what level within the organization you're at. It's about if you are a leader in the work that you're doing. AI will never be able to replace you in that capacity. And let me explain why. First of all, I need you to understand that there is a difference between leading, whether it's leading people, leading accountability groups, leading tasks, leading in the role that you're in, and managing people, managing tasks, managing the work that you are given on a day to day basis. So, how are those two things different? First of all, someone who is a manager, someone who is managing their work, is ticking it off. To manage something means that you are efficiently working through it. If you are managing people, you probably are checking on their time cards, right? You probably are responding to emails. You probably are watching the metrics on the dashboard and making sure that things are happening every single day. If you are managing your workload, you are hitting your deadlines. You are completing things in a timely and quality fashion. You are coming up to the baseline. Everything is bringing you up to this minimum standard of what is good. And that can be handled by AI. Again, regardless of what your actual title within the organization is, if all you are doing is managing the tasks, managing the work, managing the people, making sure that everything hits that metric style base standard minimum, then yes, that is something that can be set up in AI. Whereas if you are leading, if you are looking for ways to beat the deadline, if you are looking for ways to exceed the standard on the quality of work, on how quickly it's getting done, on how in depth you are grabbing different people's knowledge bases, how you are incorporating the values of the organization and where we are going in the strategic trajectory of the company, that's a whole different ballgame. AI cannot do that. When you're talking about leading people, right? If you are a leader who is helping them really strategically wrap their mind around everything that they're doing and how it is integrated into the overall goals of the organization, AI just isn't capable of that. AI isn't capable of putting everything, all of the nuance, all of the strategy, all of the history, all of the people knowledge and the knowledge of the value that you bring to your customers and to your colleagues and to your boss. AI can't put that all together. It can only put in what is fed to it and what it can find in Google, what it can find searching the internet, right? That is why it is so good at managing things. That's why it is such a useful tool. And yes, I will tell you, AI is incredibly useful because you can give it this whole brain, right? That is really just a snapshot of your brain and everyone's brain that you can compile at that moment. It is an absolute snapshot of what you are all thinking at that time that you can put into the brain. And then it goes out to the web and it pulls different information. If you ask it to, if you tell it to do that, it can pull all this information, put it together, and deliver to you something that will bring up to the minimum standard, something that will meet the expectations that you have for it. So let me give you an example. One thing that is great for AI to take on is a regular report out, right? I need you to pull this data from this department. I need you to pull these fields and put it all into a report so that every Monday morning at 7 a.m., I can open my email and see this report that is 100% accurate and pulled from everything that is important to me. That's managing a task. That's hitting the minimum. That AI report is not going to suddenly 3 weeks from now say, I think maybe your priorities have shifted. I think maybe right now you're focused more on this data point than that data point. Let's include both of them. It's not going to have that capacity to lead in that way. A leader, a person who is responsible for that AI task that can feed it that business brain and allow it to come back every Monday morning with a report, but then in 3 weeks' time say, you know what, let's adjust this a little bit. Let's think about this just a little bit differently. Let's pull this data point and that data point and compare them. That leader can then leverage AI to make themselves even more valuable. AI on its own cannot take that capacity away. Let's look at a few other examples of things that a leader can do that AI just can't. And heads up here, if you have watched this far and you are like, I want to make sure that I do not get replaced by AI, then I want you to write these 3 things down so that you start doing them today to make sure that you are safe from whatever iteration of AI can come next. So, first of all, a leader is going to set clear expectations. Now, that sounds pretty basic, right? A leader is going to set clear expectations for the team, for themselves, for how they are going to kind of work with others moving forward. A leader can set those clear expectations. Now, if you are being critical of me, and that's totally cool, do it every single time, you might be thinking, well, AI can be much more clear than my manager can be. I work for, different leaders and they are not that clear in what their expectations are. I never know what I'm supposed to be doing. But you know what, friend? This is your time then to differentiate yourself. This is your time to lead with those really clear expectations. So, like I said, if you're not doing this today, start doing it now. Lead with those clear expectations. And here is why a leader can differentiate themselves with this ability, with this capability. Imagine for yourself, and I'm sure you can because I know that this has happened with every company I've worked with. You are doing your thing, you're hitting your metrics, you are efficient at your job, you are just chugging along, right? You are just humming along doing what you're supposed to be doing. And then all of a sudden, there's a new priority, right? A new system is going to be introduced to the organization or a new process that we now need to utilize. Well, a leader is able to take those kind of hits from the side. That's what we used to call them. You were going down this one path, you knew what you were doing, and then all of a sudden you were knocked off course. You got hit from the side. A leader is able to take that hit, right? They're able to absorb that blow and go, okay, do we need to shift priorities? Do we need to just take that and keep going down our same path we were on? Is that going to be our sole focus, our number one priority now? They're able to make that decision and enlist the other people around them to make a cognitive and what ends up being an emotional at some points too, of how important this priority is to different people that you're working with. They can make that decision and set clear expectations around it. And maybe even reset expectations a month down the road when something new happens or when that particular priority isn't that important anymore. Right? Maybe they talked about employing a new system, but then you put a better process in place and then the system wasn't a thing anymore, right? You can continue down the path and adjust better as a leader. Whereas AI, they're just going to keep chugging out those same metrics, those same focuses that you had. They are never even going to realize that they got hit from that side. They're never going to have the conversation to say, should we focus on this over here? And if you ask it, if you go out to AI, and in all of them I have tested and all of them that I have worked with different people on, um, it'll just agree with you. That's what it does, is it tells you that you are on the right path. So if you go into AI, again, if you go into AI and you say, okay, we these metrics and this reporting, and we need to get this stuff done, and then all of a sudden this new system comes into play, and and you say to AI, what should I do with this information? Should I focus on this over here? It's going to say something to the effect of, that's the right question to ask. And yes, if you should focus on that direction. You should change all of these things so that you are looking at this. It is always going to give you a yes and. It is never going to tell you, I think maybe you should talk to senior leadership about this. I think maybe you should employ the other stakeholders in the organization to make sure that this is going to give the best result to everybody, because that's not how AI is designed to work. So, that first point, if you are a leader, AI cannot replace you when you are able to set and readjust clear expectations. Now, you may have noticed, if you've been hanging out with me for a while, you may have noticed that there was a lot of listening going on in that first example, right? And that's just another thing that AI will never be able to beat out a leader at, because a leader would get this new information. A leader would have these expectations, get hit from the side, get additional feedback from their boss, hear something from a boss that they have sort of a dotted line to. And AI would, again, just keep chugging along. They would just keep going forward with whatever that original request was. And if you added something in, AI is going to come back and just agree with whatever feedback you gave it and try to yes and it to just keep adding things on. Whereas a leader is able to listen with their whole body. A leader isn't just listening with the input that is directly said to it. It's not a leader, we, people. A leader is not just listening to the emails that are sent to us. Leaders are listening for tone. Leaders are listening for facial expressions. Leaders are listening for silence, right? Quite honestly, if you say we're going this direction and now we need to incorporate this system, and you don't hear anything from this senior leader over here, you don't hear anything from that additional stakeholder, well, that says volumes, doesn't it? It says so much. And for some of you right now, you're picturing that person you sort of have a dotted line relationship with, and you're thinking, yeah, no news is good news. That would be great when they don't respond to me. And others would look at that and say, oh, they didn't have anything to say? That means they hate it. We're not moving forward. The very fact that you know which side of that coin you fall on is the reason why a leader cannot be replaced by AI, because you have that ability to listen and you've already done that listening. Now, again, AI is a fantastic tool, and AI is something that leaders are going to leverage to advance themselves even further within the organization. But it's because you can listen and put it through that filter of, what does this information mean? And how am I going to take Peggy's perspective of this and Tom's perspective of this and put them together to give AI this information to say, we need to move forward. Help me create a process that incorporates this, and this end goal, right? We need to make sure that Peggy feels comfortable with, we do this the same as we've always done it. Tom feels comfortable with, we are innovating at all times, and that I have something clear to deliver to my team so that they know what the expectations are. But you can't even get to the point that you're putting that in unless you are listening as a leader and listening with your whole body. The last one, probably the real kicker, because this is the one that is going to allow you as a leader to really differentiate yourself, to really set yourself apart from everybody else who is only managing tasks, who is only meeting that bare minimum standard. This is how you become the person who raises the bar. And again, this isn't something that AI can do for you. This isn't something that AI is going to beat you at. And that is communicating your value. Communicating your value as a leader is one of the most underrated skills because you need it to influence at every single level of the organization. You are communicating your value to your team when you make sure that you take Peggy's need to keep everything the same status quo and Tom's need to innovate everything and give them a clear expectation out of those two very seemingly conflicting perspectives. You are communicating your value to your team by giving them one beacon to follow because you are the leader that they need in order to move forward. You're also communicating your value to your peers when you see them spiraling about things that maybe have a chance of happening, right? Maybe there's been downsizing within your organization. Maybe they are panicking about having to tell their team that we're not filling that role that feels so desperately needed. Maybe you need to help them out with a project or with a perspective that they just are working themselves to the bone on and not getting anywhere. When you are a leader, you are able to communicate your value by stepping in and being the steady pillar that that team needs. Being the person that they can count on without taking their work from them, without, advancing the ball on the projects that they own, but allowing them to see what's possible when you lead yourself well and when you bring your unique cocktail of strengths and perspectives and your own values to create that value for the organization. And if you are someone who is looking to differentiate yourself to the point that while other people are worried about losing their jobs to AI, you are actually looking for ways to advance your career with AI or looking to advance your career in the face of it, even if you're not using it at all, that ability to communicate your value to your boss, that ability to communicate your value to those people that you have dotted lines with so that they are first thinking of you anytime that they have an opening on their team, that is what a leader is capable of. Because yes, AI can tell you some very nice platitudes about how smart you are and what you've accomplished based on what you have fed into it, right? But what it can't tell you is how to strategically think about how your strengths are going to impact the trajectory of the company, the trajectory of the organization, and what you can do today and tomorrow in bigger roles with bigger influence, and how you are going to be the one who leads this organization to the next level. That is what you are able to do as a leader who can communicate your value. It is one of my most favorite things to do with clients. In the first month that we work together, they work through things like identifying their own strengths and finding those specific moments, those evidences of living in their strengths and how they can lead with those strengths. They also learn how to connect their own values, their unique, specific values, with the values of the organization so that they feel in alignment and energized in moving forward. No longer does it feel like this conflict of, well, the company values a profit and I value people. I value, doing good work in the service of others. Now it's finding a way to merge those two things so that you can serve others while creating a profit, which just allows you to be more marketable and more valuable within the organization. Which, side note, allows you to serve more people, allows you to influence a bigger chunk of what's going on so that you can live out your values on a bigger stage. So we take your strengths, we take your values, the organization's values, and then we build in the ability to communicate it. All of that happens in the first month of coaching. So then for the next 5 months, these clients are going out and doing amazing work so that they are getting promoted into that senior leadership or C suite level. They are creating teams of not just this mixed bag of warm bodies, but of absolute A players that people are like, how are you getting all of the good people? You attracted them and you created them, all because you are the leader. You're no longer this manager, right? You're no longer managing these tasks, these items, these people, all of these little like ticky tacky little things. You are the leader of all of it, and you are able to orchestrate the biggest impact that you can create because of it. So, my friend, if you are a leader, AI will never replace you. And if you want to build up some of these skills so that you can be the leader who leads the charge on all of this, then I want you to click the link below and just book a call with me. Let's just have a conversation about what is possible for you when you become the leader in that organization.